It's now my pleasure to introduce two very knowledgeable doctors. We're going to be talking about stress, and without further ado, let me introduce Arlene Noodleman and May Shooney. Thank you for being with us today, ladies.
Thanks for having us. Great to be here.
You don't mind me calling you ladies instead of doctors, it just seems so formal.
We're ladies.
You absolutely are. Exactly. So what happens internally with our bodies when stress begins to load up on us?
Well, we call that the stress response, and I do have one diagram here of what I call the triune brain, and that is showing the brain in three parts. So the most primitive basic part of our brain, in green on the screen, is the reptilian brain, and that is really our reactive brain. It's our fight or flight, survival-oriented area, and the oldest part in evolution of the brain. And then we have the mammalian brain in yellow, and there's more advancement there in mammals where they can really have some more social attachments. It's where memory is focused, emotions. So that's an advancement. And then we have this very large area in blue, which is the human brain, or the neo-mammalian brain, and that is the area that we have our judgment, planning, ability to think clearly, and that, of course, is our higher centers. But what happens with the stress response and chronic stress is that the neo-mammalian brain, or the human brain, or what I like to call the Silicon Valley brain, kind of gets inhibited. And what we do, many of us, is revert into that reptilian mode of reaction, reacting instead of responding. And when we do that, we release quantities of many biological hormones. The one that we know the most about is cortisol. And also one of the effects of cortisol is to raise blood sugar. So then we get a blood sugar spike. And that then connects blood sugar and stress to food, which
because the body's naturally trying to generate some carbs to give us strength to run away from some predator or something.
Right.
If we're talking about the reptilian, which is very primal.
Exactly.
We were running from things that were trying to
Right,
get
that's
us.
fight or flight, and we tend to operate that way a whole lot more than we'd like to admit. And I think Dr. Shunny has a lot of suggestions and strategies to manage what really happens to us medically and biologically.
Please.
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that we don't necessarily think about when we're trying to figure out how to manage stress is food, which Dr. Noodleman was starting to refer to. But really, what happens when we go in stress and we go on overload is, do we even eat? Do we remember to eat? We see this a lot when we're busy, we're rushing out the door, feeding the kids, we get them fed. Do we even remember to put anything in our mouth? So really one of the first things you want to do is you want to make sure that you are eating regularly and you're not skipping meals throughout the day.
Sure.
First thing, once you have that dialed in, then you can start to look at, okay, now what am I actually eating? Because what happens is if you're not eating regularly and your blood sugar isn't balanced properly, your mood isn't stable, you can't manage your stress response, so you're more stressed out, you make poor food choices, and then your blood sugar gets imbalanced again. So it's really this vicious cycle. So are you eating regularly throughout the day, making sure that you're getting adequate protein each time that you eat, because what protein and good quality fat also, what they both do is they increase, they spread out the amount of time that it takes for your body to break the food down into sugar. So you're getting less of these big peaks and valleys with your blood sugar, and you're getting more of a sustained energy source.
Right.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
I think so, and most people, it's starting to get more popular to make sure that people are eating more protein. So more and more people know what that is, but that means, whether it's meat and fish, or whether you're getting beans and lentils and nuts and seeds, quinoa is a grain that has a good protein source, smoothies, things like that. Something that I talk to patients about all the time is, when was the last time that you did something that was just for yourself? And have, the things that help you manage your own self-care, have they fallen away? Have you stopped getting to the gym? Have you stopped playing with your grandkids? Have you stopped taking time to breathe or pray or meditate or whatever it is that you do? Meal preparation, has that gone completely out the window? Are your emails piling up? Are you turning away opportunities to connect with people that you really care about? Knowing what our little red flags are for how we can see that we're just getting overwhelmed and are just lost in the deluge of survival.
There's no way I could do one more thing. Are you kidding?
Right.
And you might hear yourself say that.
Right. Except
Hence,
the things
that's a
we're
trigger.
saying no to are so often the things that would actually nurture us and take care of ourselves. And we just
irony
keep
of it all.
going with the things that we feel like we have to do or the sky's going to fall.
So what are the things you both recommend as far as things to, if you're feeling hungry, what should they have in their at hand, whether it's in their drawer at their office or wherever it might be, even in a car.
So what I started to say before also was making sure there's adequate protein and good quality fat. So having those kinds of snacks around, because what's usually available in the workplace are candy left over from Halloween, right? It's the landslide there. So nuts, you can have hummus with vegetables, you can have rice cakes with almond butter, fruit with, so whenever you've got a fruit or a starch like that, you always want to combine it with either a protein or a good quality fat, because again, that's going to attenuate or lengthen the rate at which that kind of crashes into a whole bunch of sugar.
Wonderful, yeah.
And the focus should be on whole foods. And of course, we have these sweets and baked goods, and they're wonderful. But try to stay on the outside, on the periphery of the grocery store, where your whole foods are, where really your best nutritional value is.
Yeah, well said.
And I think so many people are afraid of fat, right? Their fear of fat, but good quality fat is actually essential in managing our appetite. It helps us feel full and feel satisfied, and we actually often will portion ourselves better if we've allowed ourselves to have some nuts and seeds and some avocado, some fish,
Yeah,
a little
thank you
bit
for
of
saying,
butter.
because I was going to ask to have you identify what those fats are, and I was going to guess it may have been the nuts and things like this, but yes, avocados and things like that.
Olives, olive oil, yeah. all those
Olive
kinds of
oil should be the mainstay in cooking, for sure.
Of course, yeah, that's wonderful.